They leave the flame very, very low. If it's a real kosher caterer, they leave the flame low, then the goy just turns it up. But one of the isurim in kosher you can't eat.
You don't know.
What do you mean? They can't open up the flames?
Can't start a fire.
A microwave is considered.
Well, a microwave is totally different. But you walk into a restaurant, forget about Shabbat. I not too long ago went to a restaurant. It was a big kosher, a lot of stamps. My wife told me, wow, look how kosher it is. So I walked to the back and I was like, is there a mashgiach here? A who? I told him, a mashgiach. Who? So I told, a rabbi? Is there a rabbi here? No. Does a rabbi come here? No. So what makes the place kosher? Oh, we buy the milk is very kosher, and the cheese is kosher, and everything here is kosher. So I said, but who turns on the oven? Julio or Moishele? So they said, there's no Moishele here, so you can't eat here. So you think that the goy that's sitting in the kitchen, even though if they're not selling, let's say it's a dairy restaurant, so there's no meat or something like that. But you think that the goy will check your eggs if there's blood in there? You think the goy will check the leaves if there's...
Personally, yes, we have to do like our salad, but if there's a restaurant that has like a hechsher on the door, then the achrayut is on them.
No.
I have to check if there's
I mean, like,
You have to check that the hashgacha is good.
If it says on the door,
I can give you for free a sticker that says kasher. If you see a good... You know how many restaurants in Manhattan they says kasher on it, בכלל לא kasher, it's not even kosher, they're open on Shabbat. So it costs exactly $10 to buy a sticker that says kosher. So if you go by if you trust the hechsher, certain hechsherim, you know that if then you make yourself a short research. And some hechshers, for example, the hechsher OK, the O and the K, if you see any restaurant that has their hechsher, you can count 100% that it's perfect. They're so strict that the owner of the restaurant does not have keys. The mashgiach has keys to the restaurant. So the mashgiach opens. OU is dafka not כל כך strict.
most restaurants in the city. Oh, yeah, I also thought so.
No. In restaurants, OU.
Most restaurants are OU.
They're not so. Triangle K?
Yeah. Like a triangle.
For a restaurant or for product?
Or Star K.
Star K is a good hechsher.
Really?
Yeah. Star K. The thing is that it depends, because some hechsherim are very good in a product and they're not good in a restaurant. Right. Some hechsherim, it really depends. If you're really particular with kosher, don't believe the sticker.
What about OUD?
OUD, that's already
Not in milk and cheese, but like in chocolate or cookies.
If it has dairy in it, then the D stands for dairy. I can't see all the way there, but
Hershey's chocolate.
if it's an OUD and it's actually not parve and it's dairy, then the D stands for dairy. It means that it's not Chalav Israel. I wouldn't eat it. Doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. OU is not such a good hechsher. It's good for... OU is good for dry goods. It's good for many things, but for other stuff, it really depends. If you're very particular with kosher, you want to make your right...
No, but OUD is so hard for me. I'm like, I could do the milk, I could do the cheese. Yeah.
Ken, OKD is good. OK? OK is only Chalav Israel. OKD is always Chalav. OK is one of the best hechsherim out there. No, but if OK has a D in it, it's a Chalav Israel.
Really?
Yeah. OK is, in my opinion, one of the top hechsherim. There are. The thing is that some of the OUD, you will still see that it says Chalav Israel, so it's not 100%.
So what's wrong with eating OUD?
Because in most of the products of OUD, the D stands for dairy and it's Chalav Akum, it's not Chalav Israel.
So what's the problem with that?
That it's not Chalav Israel.
Okay, but it's kosher.
To some people it's kosher, to some people it's streif, like eating anything else that is streif. I would not touch chalav akum.
It's so like you have it in the most Hamish groceries. You have like OUD.
It's very accepted.
That's what I tried. That's what I tried to say.
Depends by who it
When you
accepted.
walk into a reliable grocery or reliable restaurant, where like
Grocery and restaurant is different.
okay, whatever. Okay,
Products.
whatever. But let's say grocery, it's like yes, it's like I have to do my shtatlut and everything, but I'm not walking into a non-Jewish. What's it called? I'm walking into a Amish grocery. You know what? If they bring it in, I trust them. that they brought it in.
So in some
So this
places
is
you
not
can
very
trust.
Accepted.
So
In-
some
in
places-
religious areas. That's why
In
I'm
Bar
asking.
Park.
It's first of all a lot of products that are OUD. If
Chobani,
you,
everyone carries chobani.
I don't know what's chobani, but the thing is that a lot of the products will have on them OUD, but if you turn it around, you'll see another 3 hechsherim that it actually is Chalav Israel. That's why I said that that's not always like that. You have to actually look at the product. But the thing is that we talked about it a few times. The more you want to refine yourself in the level of hechsher, you want to refine yourself. And I know it's accepted in many places. It's also accepted in many places to do all sorts of things that are not really according to what Hashem really wants.
It's kosher.
Some of the products, the level of the strictness in the kosher is not so high. So some people say, I want the minimum. Some people say, I don't go with this minimum. So sometimes you will go to a restaurant and you will see a big sticker saying kosher, and the products are kosher. So some people, for them, this is kosher enough. I eat, it's kosher. Some people will come in and say, the goy turned on the oven, this is mamash isur deoraita. The knives, the utensils probably didn't go to the mikveh ever. The plates even probably were not toiveled ever.
If it
So,
wasn't in the mikveh, you're not allowed to eat it.
well, the utensils that you prepare the food with, if they weren't in the mikveh and they were manufactured by a non-Jew, there's tuma on it. Yeah, why you put it in the mikveh? You have to take it out of the reshut of the goy.
So what kind of plates do you need to put in the mikveh?
Everything. You kosher you now have a whole new kitchen. You buy new plates. You take it to the mikveh.
Plastics too?
No plastic, no. But I don't know any restaurant that gives you to
Plastic
eat with
only?
plastic forks.
Yeah, but only plastic and glass, no? Or glass too?
No, plastic you don't need to toivel in a mikveh.
Okay, and
Metal, glass, pottery. But the thing is that a lot of the restaurants, they get a very, very simple hechsher. So yeah, the products might be kosher, but everything around it is not kosher. Either they're open on Shabbat, that makes the restaurant completely not kosher. Doesn't matter if they serve you kosher products. Betach.
the place that I worked in the city, they're open on Shabbat, but they have a Jewish and a non-Jewish.
If
place
the
there.
products are packed, that's not a problem. But you can't have a restaurant that's cooking on Shabbat. They can cook the best chicken soup.
What do you mean? In Israel, there's this restaurant that I used to go to a lot.
So-
Or
So,
this
so
restaurant, I forgot.
Open on Shabbat?
I don't know, but it's in some places.
places
I
are
think the one in Eilat.
in Israel, it's very hard. The hechsherim, maybe in the last couple of years, they're a little bit loose, but
Open on Shabbat, there's no.
nobody's going to give you a hechsher.
The one in there's a big mall over there in Jerusalem, Mamilo,
Mhm.
and they have over there this famous restaurant. I think it's called Aroma or something like that. And they have a couple of them spread out through Israel.
And
I don't know. It's like somebody said once that.
yeah.
Yeah, like
So somebody said what? That they're open on Shabbat?
No, that like I remember going to a lot and I couldn't find. This goes back when I was like, more religious, and I don't know. And somebody said they don't know if you could eat over there because in that place, like either it's open Shabbat or they cook the dairy together with something else.
Whatever. The thing is that it all depends on the level where you're holding. If you really want to refine yourself, kosher is the number one thing you need to focus on. And the more you want to focus, the more you want to refine yourself, you want to make sure your kosher diet is 100%.
But if
And
somebody eats OUD like paras, then it's like they're eating tray.
they don't eating treif, but if they're eating D that is not chalav Israel, then they're eating chalav akum. There's a problem. Yes, some people will accept it, some people are matir it.
Is Bishul
But-
Akum and Chalav Akum the same level?
No. Bishul akum you really can't. Nobody will allow you to have it. Chalav akum, a lot of people, the thing is, I'll tell you what's the problem in our generation. that a lot of poskim, they say in America there's no such a thing as chalav akum. Because what's the chalav akum? There's the chash that they put maybe some pig fat in it to pasteurize it or to preserve it and stuff like that, or you don't even know where they actually really milk it from. So a lot of rabbis that give hechsherim says we don't have this problem in America. The thing is that everything has the physical part of it and the spiritual part of it. In the spiritual level of it, according to Kabbalah, according to Chassidut, you don't want to have chalav akum because you want the process to be kosher from the time of the milking. There's a spiritual concept in it. So somebody who's Yireh Shamayim will not have anything that is not was supervised from the second it was milked till the second it's in your coffee. So some people they're not particular with it. But the problem is, they're not going to Gehenom, they're not chas v'shalom, tameh, but they when it comes to be refined and get elevated in Kedusha, they can't climb. It holds them down in many things. And the thing is that the problem, this is what people don't take into consideration, this is already in a spiritual level, dafka in the chalav that is not chalav Israel, it says, the Arizal says, it's metamtem et hasechel. Makes your mind a little bit off balance. So what happens? You can be very religious, everything is fine, but when it comes to be machmir about certain things that are important, you're not going to be machmir. When it comes to it's tired, I don't really need to say Kriyat Shema now because I'm a very good Jew and I have to go to sleep now. It comes when it...
This is from
Yeah.
in general?
No, dafka from chalav, from milk. So...
I actually Googled.
in the meat.
Meat is a whole different department. And the problem with meat, that there's many different stages in the kosher of the meat. So meat, for example, first of all, in our generations, it's not even good even to eat meat, especially the meat in America. The meat in America is very, very bad meat. So we barely eat meat. I don't barely eat meat during the week. And if I eat, it's chicken, only eat on Shabbat. And the meat that we buy, first of all, we buy it from a private farm that we know how they raise the cattle and we know the shochet. So I don't buy meat from any store.
That's extreme, though.
It's extreme for health reasons and it's extreme for kosher reasons. For health reasons, if you would see how the meat is being raised in America, you wouldn't want to eat it.
Even if it's organic?
Doesn't matter. Even the organic ones, you have to see exactly where it came from. If you would see what they inject into the animals, what they feed the animals, you wouldn't want to eat even the meat. This is for the health part of it. But
People that became vegan.
But for the hechsher part of it, if I want to hold myself in a certain level and I want to elevate to a very high level in Kedusha, my kosher diet is the one that's going to stop me from being elevated. So if I want to come now and learn 2 hours a day Chassidut, very high level Chassidut compared to Kabbalah, if I'm in a very low level in Ruchaniyut, I'm not going to understand anything here. I'm not going to refine myself. If I want my Avodat Hashem to be first class, I want to really elevate myself, then the entire package has to be elevated. I can't be very lenient with kosher and very lenient here and very lenient here and then expect my Avodat Hashem to be in this level. Now, does it fit everybody? No, it doesn't. But I chose that I want to be in a very high level in my Avodat Hashem, then everything has to be part of it. And I have to refine myself. If you look now at a knife of a shochet, if the knife of the shochet has one chupchik, 1 millimeter of a blemish, the knife is pasul, is disqualified, and anything that he's going to shecht is treif. Yeah, shochet tov, yeah, every time after the... Well, I buy meat from a shochet that I know, that I trust the shochet.
People go actually to butchers to see how they do it.
Yeah. Now where we buy our meat, I know the shochet, I know him not only how he cuts, I know, this is already, again, in a very high level of Ruchaniyut, I know that the shochet himself is Yireh Shamayim. You know the guy where I buy mezuzot from, I know the guy personally, and I know how refined he is. He goes to the mikveh before he writes. He learns 2 hours in the morning Hasidut. He learns this, he does that. So this is another step of becoming much more refined, that I can buy a regular mezuzah from any sofer. It's a very kosher mezuzah. But if I want to get to the depth of the inyanim of it and really hit the power of the mezuzah, I want the one who writes it to be in a very high level when he writes it, because when he writes it, he transforms and transfers the kedusha to the writing. So the same thing with the shochet. I want a shochet that his mind is not thinking about shtuyot, or that he was, I don't know what, that it's a business for him. I want the shchita because everything that I do, the action that I do, I give it into what I do it. So I can now be in a very high level of yirat shamayim. When I cook my food, there's kedusha in the food. And when I create something, I put kedusha in it. So obviously when I want to elevate myself to a higher level, then everything has to be in that level.
Food connects them.
Excuse me?
I never knew that food connects them.
You know how they say, it's a cliche, but you are what you eat? And if you look at all the great tzaddikim and the mekubalim, just look at their diet. Look how they eat. They refine their diet to such a point that I know one guy, he's barely going to put anything in his mouth before he knows exactly what moved, where it came from, who touched it, where was it stored, everything. Now one might say, oh, fanatic, it's too much, it's extreme. Yeah, it is. But it depends where you want to be. If you want to hold yourself here, then it has to come with it. You want to hold yourself here?
We have to be on the left. You can't all of a sudden decide, I want
Of course you can't. But it all depends. I always give the same example. And I'll repeat it again that you get to the idea what I'm trying to say. But you probably heard it a couple times. In this world, how it works, I compare it to a story. There was once a king, and the king had an only son that finally got married. Everybody in the clan got an invitation to this wedding. One guy got an invitation in the mail. You know how excited he got to get an invitation from the king to go to the king's son's wedding? It's unheard of. He got excited, bought a beautiful suit, bought new shoes, everything. He got so excited. On the other side of town, this guy also got an invitation, but he didn't get the invitation in a piece of paper. A whole entourage of people came to invite him. The ministers, all the ministers of the king, the secondary to the king, all the generals, everybody came to personally invite that person. Came the day of the wedding, the guy who got the invitation got so excited, put on his suit on, put the new shoes on, got very excited, went out of the house. The second he walks out of his house, pouring rain. He's like, how am I going to get now? I'm going to be soaking wet. So he stands next to his house, he's waiting for the bus to come down. He sees the bus coming down the street, he starts running towards the bus. As he's coming to the bus drives off. He starts running after the bus. Wait. Yeah, he falls into a puddle, gets soaking wet. He gets up out of the puddle, is soaking wet, starts running after the bus. Wait. Bus drives off. He starts walking in the rain and he's all soaking wet. A gang of robbers come, they rob him. He continue going, a gang of guys come, beat him up, they rob him. You can't even imagine what he's going through. On the other side of town, the guy who got the invitation from all the ministers and all that, you know who came to pick him up? Helicopters in the air, soldiers surrounding the house, people, they're carrying him like this into limousines. You name it, came to take him. Finally, the guy who's all soaking wet arrives to the wedding. The gates of the palace are closed. The guards are standing in the entrance of the palace. The guy comes walking like all soaking wet, blood is gushing from his face. The guards tell him, can we help you? He's like, yeah, I'm invited to the wedding. So they tell him, can we see your invitation? So he's like, of course. He puts his hand into his pocket, he pulls out the invitation. The invitation is so soaking wet, there's nothing left of it. So the guards look at it and they're like, no, this is not an invitation. And he tells them, no, I'm invited. You got to let me in. So they're telling him, no, we can't accept this invitation. So he tells them, check your list. I'm telling you, I was invited. They're like, we're sorry, you're not coming in. So he tells them, are you out of your mind? You know what I went through to come to this wedding? Look at me. I'm soaking wet. I'm blood gushing from my face. I was robbed. I was mugged. I was beaten up. You got to let me in. You're not coming in. So he tells them, guys, I'm starving. I didn't eat nothing all day long. So they're like, starving? No problem. They come and bring him a plate of sushi and a bottle of 7-Up, and they tell him, here, sit, eat. So he looks through the gates, and he sees the king sitting in the head table, and right next to the king is sitting the prince, the groom, and right here is sitting that guy who came with the limousine and all the fancy stuff. And he tells them, guys, you got to let me in. I'm invited. I'm telling you, you're not coming in. So the moral of the story is that we're all the Jews, Kol Yisrael yesh lehem chelek l'olam haba. We have a place in the world to come. We're all invited to the wedding. The question is, how is going to be your journey to the wedding? And once you're at the wedding, where are you going to be? So we're all going to get to Olam Haba. But the question is, how is going to be the journey to Olam Haba? And the Neshama leaves the body, it goes up to Shamayim, and it goes through a journey. And now, some people want the journey to be smooth. You know, they say when a tzaddik dies, the Neshama leaves the body like a hair coming out of a cup of milk. There's no pain, no nothing. And a Rasha leaves the body, ooh, Sisu v'simcha, what's going on with this Neshama to leave the body? So this is one thing. But finally, you got to the wedding, where are you going to sit? Are you going to sit right next to the king for eternity? Or are you going to be mingling in the crowd? Or are you going to be outside, beaten up, soaking wet, and they're not letting you in? So, one might say, yeah, Kol Yisrael yesh lehem chelek l'olam haba. I have a guarantee. Chachamim said, I'm going to come to Olam Haba. Yeah, but the position, the spot, nobody's guaranteeing to you where you're going to be. So when I look at this concept, I say, I want to be right next to the king. Why? Because it's for netzach netzachim. It's forever. Not for an hour, not for a year, not for 10 years, forever. So if I want to be all the way here, every second of the day is a preparation for the wedding in the world to come. So if it means that I have to restrict myself in my diet because I can elevate myself to a higher level in this world, so I can serve Hashem better, that my tefillah is zach, it's clean, because I don't have all sorts of shtuyot in my mind. The milk that I'm talking about, what does it mean? The Arizal metamtem et hasechel. Your mind is not thinking 100% clear. So I want my tefillah to be perfect. I want my limud. I can sit now for 2 hours with a book open, learn, and not understand one word from what I said. You know how many people sit, they learn, they don't understand nothing. Or it comes through here, it goes through here, and nisht, nothing. So if I want to, and according to halakha, if I read now something and I didn't understand, this is not limud Torah. I can sit now for 3 hours, learn a whole Gemara. If I didn't understand one thing, the 3 hours are nothing. It's not limud Torah, it's not schar limud. I have to understand what I'm reading. So if I want to elevate myself to a high level because I want to be next to the king, everything is part of the system here. So my diet has to be 100% because it's going to help me refine myself. My whole entire behavior has to push me to this point. Now, does the person who's not going to do it, chas v'shalom, go to Gehenom or all the places they're telling you? No, he can still be a very good Jew. But it all depends where he's going to be positioned at the right time. Same thing with Gan Eden. We can all go to Gan Eden. I did mitzvahs, you did mitzvahs, everybody did mitzvahs, kept Shabbat, everything. But in Gan Eden, there's endless, endless amount of levels. Now, where my place in Gehenom, in Gan Eden, can you compare my Gan Eden to Moshe Rabbeinu's Gan Eden? Where am I and where is he? So I'm in Gan Eden, everybody's there, but all depends on the level. So if I'm smart and I'm saying, this is very temporary, this world. What if I'm 40? I have maybe, let's say, Chas v'Shalom, Mashiach doesn't come soon. I have another 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. What's 40 years, 50 years compared to eternity? So, okay, so nachon, extreme. I'm very extreme. And I'm very stingy here. And I'm very machmir here. Yeah, but I'm not doing it because I'm trying to win a race or to be like, oh, look how machmir I am. No, I'm refining myself like this knife of the shochet, so my actions are perfect. Why? Because the end result is that I want to be as close as I can to the king. This is what's called lifnim mishurat adin. I'm supposed to do this. I do more than that, then I just refine myself and I get myself closer to Hashem. So some things are permitted, and most people say, it's fine with me. I don't need to go the extra mile. I'm good here. which is good. And I'm not chas v'shalom telling anyone that is bad. But for me, for myself, and many others, I choose to be much more machmir in many, many things. Why? Because it's my track to elevating myself to a much better place. Now, if I'm not machmir, if I'm not very particular with my diet, my kosher diet, I'm not talking about health, I'm not talking about kosher, that will stop me when it comes to me, for me learning more depth, being more machmir in my mitzvot, being more mehader in stuff. It will lower me down. So if I'm in the motion of taking off and I want to go higher, everything has to come with it. A lot of people say, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that. Nachon, you don't have to. You can be fine with here. But it all depends on the level where you're holding. Some things people just don't know, but technically you can go to a restaurant in Manhattan, and if the hechsher is like a very lousy hechsher, could very much be you eating, you over from Isurim from the Torah even. If a non-Jew turned on the oven, you're not allowed to eat that food. Forget about the milk right now. Technically, so many different things. For example, when you eat vegetables, you have to check there's no bugs on it. When you're eating an egg, you have to check the egg, there's no blood spots in it, because a lot of the chickens, especially in America and especially in our day, they have blood in the eggs. You're not allowed to eat the blood. Yeah. Excuse me? Yeah. So, because they have, that's why so the thing is that I can assure you that if there's a mashgiach in the back, the mashgiach makes sure that the vegetables are checked and that your eggs is checked and this, and who can guarantee you that there's...
So there aren't really any restaurants that you could eat.
If you're really very machmir with your diet, then the ones who are really machmir, they don't go to restaurants. And the ones who are a little bit less, 70% of the restaurants out there are not really in the standard that I would even eat in. I really don't know where they get their products, first of all. The fact that they have a stamp on the wall, it's very nice. So they pay the $1,000 a month fee. Excuse me?
Like a tida, hakashut.
No.
From a rabbi.
Some of them are not good. Some of them are not good. Once my wife and me, we stopped somewhere in Manhattan. We wanted a cup of coffee, wanted some stuff. We walked in, it says Kosher everywhere. I didn't see any stamp in it. It just says the word Kosher. We're looking, Kosher. I'm asking was an Arab in there, Berlal. I said, is there a rabbi here? Who? Something? I told him, is it kosher? Yeah, look, it's kosher. He's showing me on the milk, it's kosher. So there was like a sign this big with the name of the rabbi and a phone number. So, I called. And I was like, can I speak with the rabbi, whatever? And I said, is this place kosher? Yeah, of course. I told him, when were you here last time? Oh, I come once a year. What do you mean once a year? The door didn't have a mezuzah even. So a person that doesn't really care, says in big letters, kasher, I can eat here. So maybe the Coke from the can has an OU in it, so it's kosher. But who says kosher? Coffee doesn't have to be kosher. But the milk has to be kosher. You eat a pastry.
If you see the bottle of milk is kosher, then you can drink it.
Technically. Yeah, but the thing is, you're going to start driving the guy crazy. Show me the milk. Show me the cup. So, so if you see the bottle and you find you're happy with the bottle, the thing is that this is my extreme. I wouldn't trust the guy behind the counter that maybe they just pour in. They buy milk in a big crate and then they pour it into the small crate that happened to be that has a hechsher on it. For me, I wouldn't charge it. You can call me extreme or meshugane, but I wouldn't trust it. So.
How much are we mechuyev to? Isn't it enough to see a certificate from a rabbi to say it's kosher?
Depends.
How much am I supposed to research before I?
You are mechuyev to research according to the level that you want to hold by. So if you're willing to believe a piece of paper, depends on the paper. People also, they forge hechsherim. Sometimes the hechsher goes to a certain expiration date. The hechsher teuda, the certificate is this big, you see kosher. If you look at the fine print at the bottom, it expired, meaning that the place that gives them the hechsher didn't come to re-give them the hechsher. So it depends on you. It all depends on you. Some of the hechsherim, for example, I know that anything that has an OK on it, I know blindly that it's a good hechsher and I don't need to call anyone. I know the owner of OK. I know the rabbis over there. These are the most machmir hechsher in the world.
That's okay. What products have an okay? Nothing.
Everything.
Okay.
Now they're becoming almost, they're slowly closing the gap and becoming as big as OU.
Really?
Chaf K is also very good. Chaf K, Star K, there's CRC, there's many hechsherim. But it also depends for what products. So some things, their products are very good hechsher, but the restaurant not necessarily. I know, for example, that the owner of the restaurant does not have the keys. That's how they're machmir. They're saying, you want a hechsher? Our mashgiach opens the restaurant. You're not letting anyone else open the restaurant.
The other chocolate store that I sometimes go to, the one in the city, the boxes, I don't know about the loose chocolate, I haven't seen, but the ones that come from the franchise, from the factory, all say CRC on it.
If the product,
Tough theory.
the thing is that let's say that you have a store,
Not
and the
okay.
store sells kosher products, but the store is open on Shabbos, and the balabait is a kofer, that has nothing to do. It's a packed product.
So what do you
But it becomes when they cook. That's not a restaurant. That's already a store.
You're allowed to buy in a non-kosher
Yeah,
store.
you can buy in a store that has chazir here, and here is a sealed product with a hechsher. You have no problem. But if it's a restaurant and it's a matter of cooking, then you have a problem.
But I heard if a store is open on Shabbat, you're not allowed to buy their kosher stuff.
Some people don't really go by it. Technically, b'diavad you can buy. Milchatchila you don't want to buy. So there's
He
many.
has some type of heter because it's a 50-50 partnership or something.
Exactly. So there's many different things. Sometimes it depends who's the owner. It really depends. It really depends where you're holding. Like one time, my in-laws, they're out of town. My wife is from Philadelphia, so when we go there, it's sometimes much easier to eat out. So there's like 20 kosher restaurants there. 2 of them are good. So, and every time my in-laws, okay, you want to eat kosher? Let's go over there. And I tell them it's not really kosher. So, Mom, what's wrong with it?
Yeah, how do you
What's
know
wrong with
it's
it?
kosher?
Excuse me?
How do you know that it's
Because I know, I just need to know. I walk in, I look who's the owner, I look if there's a mashgiach there, I can see right away if the place is kosher or not.
I never went into a restaurant, even in Flatbush, and saw a mashgiach standing there on premises.
So sometimes the owner, gets, if the owner is shomer Torah and mitzvot, the place that gives them the hashgacha says, okay, the owner is religious, he's worthy enough, not worthy, he's, what's the word? He's, let's say, I don't know the word in English, but he's good enough to be the mashgiach. But it all depends on the level of strictness. A meat restaurant has to have a real mashgiach in it. A dairy restaurant that's doing bagels, they don't really have to have a mashgiach. If the owner is religious, the owner says, let's say I would open a restaurant now. I have a very close friend who's a rabbi who has a restaurant. And some people come to him and they ask him, oh, what's the meat? Where's the meat from? What type of shchita is the meat? What is this? And he looks at me and he's like, the guy's like super duper frum. And he looks at me like laughing, like, why would I sell anything that is, look at the owner. The owner is like a chassid. So what, the owner is going to go like this and buy like cheap meat that is not a good hechsher? Like,
Some
A few
people,
years ago,
right.
there was such a story.
of course, that's why you want to check. That's why you want to check not only the stamp on the wall. You want to see who's the balabait. So the balabait says a lot about the restaurant. So you're asking how far you need to go. Depends on you. Some people say I'm fine with a piece of paper on the wall that says the letter K. When we first got married, my wife came home with all sorts of products, and I was like, "What are you buying? It's not kosher." No, I see a K here. A K can stand for cuckoo. So who said no? Probably 99% of the hechshers around the world. There's some guy who bought a rabbinical certificate from somewhere and he's made a stamp on it. It's not. If you really go into all the hechsherim, you see that most of them are not. They're not
I
really.
was at the Mets game last night and they had kosher.
They have a whole
stand
kosher
and there's
canteen
a
there.
mashgiach there.
Yeah.
He's actually.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So
Is that
someplace.
kosher,
If there's a mashgiach and the products are kosher and you do your 2-second research, then it's good enough. But I know
It's
many.
fine just to see, like, with the tzitzit and everything.
Yeah.
It's really,
I know somebody told me that there's in the Brooklyn University or college, there's a pizzeria there, and the guy's like, somebody asked me, can I eat there? And I was like, I didn't even know, I never been there. But he says, no, the guys there is with payas and everything. And I was like, the payas don't say anything. It takes biduk 3 months to grow payas.
Well,
doesn't.
earlier you said it also about somebody who you said he looks so religious, I trust it.
Depends.
Same thing.
It really depends. It really, really depends. Obviously, you can walk into a kitchen and see somebody who looks religious and is not really religious. That's why if you really want to be machmir, you don't trust anyone. So even me, I don't eat out, not in restaurants, in people's houses. Sometimes people come to us, my wife's friends, we have a Yom Tov meal. Some of my wife's friends, they come with food. I don't really. Once my wife brought something and I was like, where's that from? Oh, this and this friend. And I was like, I don't want to eat it. She was like, why? They're from. And I was like, I don't want to eat it. I don't know how from she is. I don't know how she, I don't know. So what I don't know, I don't eat. So it all depends how much, and when you really know if you need to touch it or not, is how much you want to eat it. If you really want to eat it, there's some type of magnetic spark that tells you, oh, eat it, it's not so kosher for you. So when I have a ta'ava to eat something, I know that there's something wrong with it, that I have such a ta'ava to eat it. But the bottom line is that what are you required? You're required not to letameh et haguf. There's many different levels of tuma, of impurity. The worst that we know of is tumat met, impurity of met. But we have nothing to do about it. We all have tumat met on us. The baby just comes out of the womb. The doctor touches the baby right away. That's it. He has tumat met on it. The next severity of impurity is kosher. It's from food. There's also impurity from forbidden relations. There's impurity from permitted relations. A husband and wife are together. There's some type of impurity. The husband has to go the next day to the mikveh before he's saying any brachot. So one of the worst levels of impurity is from kosher, from food. And the thing is that a lot of people are not machmir with their kosher diet.
Hasidish thing?
It's not about a Hasidish thing. For men, it's more of I wouldn't call it necessarily Hasidish, I would call it more of a mystical thing in it.
Not everyone does it.
Not everybody does it, but I wouldn't say Hasidish because I have many Sephardi friends that they don't miss one day of a mikveh and they don't consider themselves Hasidish in any way. It's more of a mystical thing. A man goes to the mikveh not because he has to. A man doesn't have the obligation to go to the mikveh. According to the din, you have to go once a year on Yom Kippur.
That's a lot.
Yeah. But a man goes to the mikveh if he understands. When a man understands the level of purity that it brings on him, then you want to go every day. Now this is like way beyond lifnim mishurot adin. There's no halakha. There's no that it says you have to go. But a man, I don't miss one day of a mikveh. Some men, when they have relations with their wife, they don't say even a brachot after that. They have to go first of all to the mikveh. There's a shichvat zera. They don't want to say anything. This is in a kosher, permitted way that the husband and wife are together. And the man doesn't say even birkot hashachar, goes to the mikveh because there's shichvat zera on his body.
But that's
So,
not
it's not a halacha. You don't have to do it. But the thing is that anything that has to do with the mystical part of the Torah, you don't must. You do it because you understand the effect in it. So one of the things is kosher. Yeah, you don't have to be so machmir with kosher. But dafka, the impurity that comes in kosher, and kosher is a very spiritual thing. Anything that has to do in a level of that the point behind it is spiritual, because we know there's 3 types of mitzvot. Chukim, mishpatim, and edut. Edut is testimony, is all the mitzvahs that are testifying something. Pesach is the testimony that we went out of Egypt. Chanukah, that the miracle. Shabbat, testimony for the creation of the world. These are called edut. The other part of the mitzvot are called mishpatim, which is all the mitzvahs that you don't really need the Torah to explain to you that you have to do it. Stealing, lying, cheating, etc. And it's all the mitzvahs that kind of make sense. There's some type of sense in it. But the third category is called chukim. Chukim is all the mitzvahs that don't make sense. Mikveh, kosher, red heifer, all sorts of things that you can't find any reason in your mind. You're like, okay, I'm doing it because Hashem told me to do it. There's no physical explanation in it. So one of them is kosher and one of them is mikveh. So red heifer we still don't have, we need Bet HaMikdash. But mikveh, anything that with purity and impurity, we don't understand. Nobody can come and explain to you, why does a woman get impure when she's getting her monthly cycle? Why is this making me impure? Why is that is making me... Why a bath of water makes me pure? This is a level that we can't understand. This is what's called chukim, chukah. So the same thing with kosher. Of course, there's all sorts of way in the physical way that you can explain the whole point of kosher, that you can say, oh, makes sense. But a much higher level, in a refined level, what's called a roved, and a very high level of the spiritual part of the kosher, we don't really understand. Why does this make me spiritually impure when I eat this type of food? Why do I get completely impure when I eat a piece of meat that was not slaughtered the right way? We don't understand it. But the thing is that the more you refine yourself in your kosher diet, the higher you can reach. More than that, your entire avodat Hashem. A person can be 100% religious, but they have a very big yetzer hara and a lot of ta'avot to do certain things, and a lot of things they don't want to do, and so many things, and they feel that everything is a burden. Oh, Shabbos again. Oh, I have to wear this. Oh, I have to be tznius now. Oh, so many things. You don't have any excitement. This originates, a lot of it, from your kosher diet. Because the more you refine yourself, exactly how the American says, you are what you eat, the more you refine yourself in your diet, the more you are separating yourself from gashmiut, and the more you're getting yourself closer to ruchaniyut. So you're much more receptive to all the spiritual things, you're less connected to the spiritual things. So your yetzer hara is weaker, your te'avot, I don't know how you say your ta'ava, like all these lusts and desires are weakened. You don't get so overwhelmed. You pray, your mind is clear, you learn, you understand what you're learning. Everything has more meaning. So obviously, if my goal, if I'm religious, I chose to be religious, I chose to serve Hashem, then I want to gain all the tools that I need to get closer to Hashem. Why would I make any discounts? And the second that I make discounts, the second that I start opening gaps and doors, who will come in? The yetzer hara will come in, and all the machshavot zarot and all these things that will push me away from Hashem. Half the stuff that we do, they're not really mitzvot or halachot. It's all sorts of fences that the chachamim put around us that we shouldn't fall. So the more you refine yourself, the higher you grow. The higher you grow, the closer you get to Hashem, and it's one thing leads to the other. So it all depends on the level where you want to hold.